All right, welcome back. Thanks for logging on and tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. That way you can keep coming back over and over to hang with us and our fantastic creative guests in the arts and entertainment world. I'm Allison Ingraham. Right now we are in the studio. We are hanging via Skype with comic book writer and artist Rusty Gilligan. Hi, Rusty. Thanks for hanging with us.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
I am fantastic. So
I'm very glad to be here.
I am so happy to hang with you. I know we met briefly, probably in passing, at in Utica at HeroCon 2017.
Yep.
So that was fun. So let's start with you're a comic book writer and artist, but
yes.
You started your career as a child actor.
Yes, actually, I was in California, and I was in the city of North Hollywood, and I was doing an interview for a commercial. And a lot of times when you're in buildings where they do the interviews, they just rent out empty offices. There's usually 6 or 7 businesses going on at the same time, so you'll have, you know...
Oh, I lost him.
Ballet dancers in another one. You'll have, you know, directors working on a show already and another one, on and on and on and on. So as I was sitting there learning my lines for the interview in the hopes of getting this commercial part, a man walks out from one of the offices, and I look up and I go, "Hey, it's you." And he goes, "Yes, it's me." It was Stan Lee, who was basically, you know, the head of Marvel Comics at the time, and a huge figurehead as well. And we struck up a conversation, and I basically didn't even try for the interview. I just kept talking to him some of my artwork because my mother had some in the car, and he had seen the pieces and liked them, and he made a comment. He actually even signed one of my pieces, and he gave me one of his cards and said, "Look me up sometime." And I did a little bit later, and I had gotten a job working on one of the Marvel UK books, doing a couple of pieces, and then from there just kept going. That was literally my first professionally paid job. I had done work for Comics Buyer's Guide, and which was a newspaper staple that was in the market, like a trade paper. And I had done some artwork for some local shows, etc. You know, unpaid things. You know, here's a free ticket, draw me Captain America. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But this was my first paid job, and it was very exciting.
Wow, that's incredible. Holy cow.
Chance meetings, huh?
I know. Oh, that was lucky, if nothing else. So then...
Yes, very much.
You decided, okay, I want to be a heavyweight wrestler. How does that happen?
Well, I had been a child actor, going back to that for a while. I did over 50 commercials, and I did many plays, and I very much enjoyed it. And then I started to grow up a little bit, like we all do, more mature, and you know, you get a little taller, and your voice changes, and your look changes. I had done a lot of television.
Yeah.
I did things like Little House on the Prairie. I was on for a season. I did Pete's Dragon, the original. I did a number of shows with Bob Hope and Mac Davis, and on and on and on. So very much enjoyed that. Was even on a Disney special a couple of times. But I grew out of my... I wish I could show you a picture of what I used to look like. I literally look like a little Cupid doll, Howdy Doody. If anybody out there remembers, haired, freckled boy, and I was pushed ahead a couple of grades. So I would be 9 years old in class where there were 12 and 13-year-olds. So I was constantly picked on and made fun of that. So when I got to high school, a lot of the kids from my grade school came over to the high school, and I started looking into doing sports. My mother, I was raised by a single mother. My mother was very much against me doing anything. It was literally go to school, come home, work. That was it. It was a very, we're very Irish Catholic family, so we were in that mold. And when I got to college, I thought, I'm going to try sports now. I'm old. Nobody can tell me what to do. I've kind of filled out a little bit, so I wasn't literally the matchstick when I was a kid. So I started playing volleyball, and I played professional beach volleyball. Played on the Budweiser circuit for a while, and I played for my college, and tried boxing. And boxing was kind of an amazing one-night thing for. It was 2 months of preparation for a match where I got the you-know-what beat out of me, and a very large, heavy-set man from the audience comes up and he said, let me ask you a question. And I said, okay. And he says, I bet you wanted to kick that guy really hard, didn't you? And I says, come to think of it. And he said, come to the other gym tomorrow, and I'm going to train you. He says, I think you'd do good with wrestling. And that man at the time was Dr. Jerry Graham, who used to be one of the most winningest tag team champions with his brother, who had passed away by that time. And he was the uncle of superstar Billy Graham, who was the world heavyweight champion in the WWF. And from then on, I worked out with him and trained with him, and wrestlers like Crazy Mike Graham and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and a number of others that I had met. And when I was in California, I went to Mr. Mexico's gym down in San Diego. And from then on, acting was behind me and wrestling was in front of me. And I very much enjoyed my time in it. It was a very enjoyable 5 years.
That's fantastic. And you became the heavyweight champion?
In the USWA, and I very much enjoyed that too. The only thing I didn't care for was getting stitched up, but I'll tell you the truth, it was a fun, it was riding the bus from one spot to another. Some nights we wouldn't have the money for a hotel. We'd throw towels on the floor of the showers and sleep there until the next day at the arenas. We'd help them set up the ring or tear down the ring for a couple of extra bucks. I remember doing artwork for some of their programs and for some of the flyers. One of my friends used to keep the books and cook the hot dogs on a makeshift grill outside one of the arenas just to make a couple of extra bucks. But it was, when you're in smaller organizations, it's not like it is today. Today they're treated like actors and like stars. They fly between the venues. They stay at some nice hotels. Room service, sometimes one or two guys in a room. Top billing, they get merchandising. Back then, I remember a couple of nights just getting $20 in a chicken dinner, if even. So...
Wow, how it's changed, yes.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that you pay your dues.
Yeah.
And I there are some people that say that they're a jack of all trades. I say that I'm a jackass of all trades. So I kind of learn the little bits of each industry that I'm in a rough way, I guess. After I tore the rotator cuff in my left shoulder, I took a bad trauma to my back also. I was in a match, and instead of falling forward into the ring, I fell from the top rope through a table and chairs outside of the ring, which is about 10 feet to the ground. And it was a bad jar that caused me a lot of physical pain. Years later, I'm still in the middle of medical problems from it now. And this was the 80s. when it happened. But it put me out, and I tried to do a couple of other matches. Pat Nealon, who was called the Snake Charmer from Boston, was my tag team partner in a big tournament with the Samoans and the Midnight Express and a bunch of other old guys that nobody will remember when we were in Las Vegas. And we came in second in that tournament. We had a ball, but my partner hurt his back in that match, and I just thought to myself, you know what, it's time to, usually it's time to put pedal to the metal. Now it's time to hit the brakes. Yeah. So I just said, I'm done. I'm very much done. So I went back to doing a little bit of acting, and art has always been my mainstay. I've worked in comics since '78.
Wow. So that leads us to, you've done a lot of storyboards too. You've done Spider-Man 2 and 3, The Walking Dead in 2010, and Heavy Metal. So tell us about the storyboards. How did you get involved to do those?
At the time I had an agent, and the agent had pushed me into a couple of jobs. Basically, I hate to say it, I wish it was more of an exciting story. I climbed a mountain, I crossed a desert during a sandstorm, I rustled a horse and rode away as bad guys were firing after me, but all I got was a call from my agent. You want to do it? Yeah, okay, hang up. Then to get the job the next day. It wasn't as exciting. Most of the time when you get jobs in the comic book industry, you're elated and you're like totally refreshed, and you can't wait. You can't wait to tell everyone, from people on Facebook to your aunt to your next door neighbor to your mailman. But this is kind of like breaking up with your girlfriend in reverse. So I got the job and waited and waited and waited. Finally got the paperwork. I did artwork with an artist named Tim Stiles, and for the Spider-Man 2 movie we did over 150 pieces of artwork, and only 5 got approved. And then when we finally got to where they wanted us to be, then the rest of the pictures were approved and things worked out fine. Some of the artwork spilled over into Spider-Man 3, which was nice.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to some of their other films. I did Avengers, I did Captain America, and then that was pretty much it for Marvel. Walking Dead was nice because I did the trading cards for Cryptozoic, and I did, I did the Marvel cards for Upper Deck, and at the time, and then I had gotten a call about doing some light storyboarding, character design, character development. So Walking Dead came about, which was nice. All in season 1, first couple of episodes. The hard part is being in comics. You'll hear about names like Jack Kirby. And one title for 50 issues they worked on. One project for 10 years or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes the hardest jobs are, I did one book, or I worked on one episode, or on and on and on. It has nothing to do with your ability or if you got fired or whatever. Right. It's basically being like a journeyman in the industry.
I get you. Yeah. So what's the difference between doing those and being a production artist, or is that the same thing?
Well, storyboarding, the best way to look at it is when you're doing storyboarding, each scene setup. So picture the way my storyboard page is, picture 4 storyboard squares spread out on a page.
Okay.
And the first one, I just recently did one for a short film for James Schumacher, and his film coming up, and it's a sci-fi film, and one of the first panels is a man stands at the window. So you have to draw the man at the window. Not that you have to get the look down of, he's got a look of disdain or fear, or his tongue is hanging out thirsty, whatever, but you have to get the positioning. Okay. And what happens is the director, the producer, the set director will work from those panels in order to progress the scenes and obviously make the film. So the second panel could be an explosion, and the third panel could be smoke clearing, and then the fourth panel could be, you know, you see a hand under the rubble moving, and then the fifth panel could be, you know, the guy getting up with like a beam across his back. There's dust, you know, things like that.
Right.
Production art is quite different. Production art is, for example, I did Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
And what we did for production art was we drew all the characters of the movie in like as human beings. Like we drew them, you know, in their regular faces with no makeup on. Then we drew them made up if they were, you know, zombies or whatever, or murder victims, etc. And on and on and on. I did one film for Creepy Crawl Entertainment called Succubus, and the leading lady was Mel Heflin, who's a very popular horror star. She's a beautiful scream queen, and I drew a picture of her in a nightgown, and she was like seductively crawling on a bed. And then I did other pictures that were used in the credits and other pieces that were used in advertising and publicity, teasers online, etc. Production art is kind of a utility thing. Think about when you see something like, let's say, like a Superman film. They don't usually show a photo of a person playing Superman on the T-shirts or on the posters, whatever. Usually for merchandising, they'll promote it with comic art, because we're from a breakfast cereal generation, crossing into a video game generation. Cartoons and anime and manga and on are in our blood. So we're very much in a position to where our minds adhere to color. And let's face it, you know, a picture of a guy in a Superman suit isn't as colorful as a drawing of Superman lifting a car. And production art kind of hops into merchandising a little bit as well. Some of the production art that I did for Spider-Man 2 and 3 were the costumes for the wardrobe department. Sometimes it's stuff that nobody will ever see. Sometimes it's stuff that people will copy 100 times over, draw on, and then throw away. It's just the way the business is. One of my friends does public domain type art. The stuff that you'll see like on toilet paper or shower curtains or whatever. And we always used to joke and say everything that we do is going to wind up on toilet paper anyway. So.
Oh, he's giving me the shut up card. I'll be right back with ya. Well, guys, it's been a blast. I have had so much fun hanging with Rusty today. I'm Allison Ingraham, but before we go, we would like to thank our partners at Famous Faces and Funnies, Off the Chain Radio with Yvonne Mason, Space Coast Comics, the Florida Book News, Wordfire Press, and our great friends at Some and Unique Magazine. These are the folks that share our videos all over the World Wide Web, and we hope you will too. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment, and let us know what you think of today's show and our guests. You can also check our guest links below. Remember to subscribe, log on, and stay tuned to see who we're hanging with next. That was so fun.